Canada's defence minister is not ruling out the possibility of sending Canadian forces to Mali. Peter MacKay's comments contradict previous statements by Foreign Minister John Baird saying no Canadians would be committed to the West African country. Government forces there are fighting against Islamist militants who have taken control of Mali's northern region.
What I can tell you is that we are contemplating what contribution Canada could make. We are regularly called upon when it comes to training missions like this because of the expertise and the quality of training that Canadian soldiers provide.
Earlier this month, the UN Security Council voted to send 3,300 African troops to Mali. All right, to Washington now. The hours are ticking down to a midnight deadline to avoid a fiscal cliff. Republicans and Democrats have been scrambling to agree on a series of spending cuts and tax increases, or the U.S. economy will face punishing consequences. But tonight, it appears a deal will not be signed in time. Global National's Brian Moore following the negotiations for us from Washington. So, Brian, what went wrong?
Robin, the negotiations stalled over those deep spending cuts that Republicans are demanding. So when that famous ball drops tonight in New York's Times Square, America is going over the fiscal cliff. The good news here is that it won't be a fatal plunge. It's being called more of a slope. Republicans say that any damage can be undone with some bills passed perhaps tomorrow or the day after. The good news for most Americans is that their taxes will be kept at a lower level for people making less than $400,000 a year, and that is a political victory for President Obama.
You know, keep in mind that just last month, Republicans in Congress said they would never agree to raise tax rates on the wealthiest Americans. Obviously, the agreement that's currently being discussed would raise those rates and raise them permanently.
So even as this fight is playing out here on Capitol Hill this evening, there are other fights ahead, and this is setting a very grim stage for those, the biggest of which, the fight over raising the national debt limit, the U.S. credit card. Republicans say they will not give in on that one. They're ready for a fight. Robin?
All right, Brian Moore in Washington for us tonight. Thanks very much for that, Brian.